right, welcome everybody to Steering Committee monthly meeting number 9. During these steering committee meetings, this is the culmination of all the special interest groups and working groups that happen throughout the month. There's a typical agenda where Anil leads us through going over what's happening in the special interest groups and working groups and making sure everything's working all right. And then there's some discussion, or folks from the community look and the steering committee look at the discussions happening in GitHub and see if there's anything worth, again, analyzing or having further discussion with. And then a number of other items that happen on the agenda. I believe there are supposed to be 2 demos that are happening today, but I know it might be late for a couple of folks that are on the other side of the world. So I'm just trying to make sure that those are going to happen. If not, then again, we can postpone those. But again, out of our last steering committee meeting, we were about 1 day out from mainnet 6 upgrade. That mainnet 6 upgrade has happened, so appreciate everybody on this call and everybody in the community that helped that happen. Again, there's been a great deal of supply and demand since that mainnet 6 upgrade. And again, there was a couple of issues that were being monitored after the upgrade had happened. The core team from Overclock has looked at some of those issues. And again, there's since been another node upgrade that successfully happened yesterday. I know that some providers are continuing to upgrade their infrastructure, but again, major shout out to a great deal of work that's happened on the core product side and obviously amongst clients and everybody in the community. So major shout out there. Without further ado, I'll hand over to Anil to get us going with the typical agenda, and I'll be taking notes in the background. So Anil, take it away.
Thanks, Tyler. Hey, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can go through the agenda as usual. Okay, pretty low attendance today, light attendance. Maybe it's because of Cosmoverse or something else. So we can keep this fairly short, hopefully. And I don't know, Tyler, if the demos are going to be happening, but I'll try to keep this fairly short so we can leave time for the demos. Okay, so like we usually do, we're going to go through and discuss any community feedback, any sort of grievances, conflicts about things, or just generally get updates for how things are going in terms of running the community. And then look through the list of projects, talk about any sort of updates on individual items, and then prioritize things as necessary. And then review any new GitHub discussions and potentially discuss any proposals that are up for the governance proposal next. So that's kind of the goals. Before we get going, let's talk about if there's any feedback from anyone in terms of how the SIGs and work groups have been running, or any sort of things that people think we should be changing in terms of how we've been operating the open model. Any feedback from anyone? Okay, I guess we'll take that as a no, as usual, and move on to the next thing. So, comment? Thanks, Cheng. All right, so I guess we'll move on to the next thing. Go ahead, Robert.
I was going to send a comment, but since you read my last message, I just will say it out loud. I just hope you feel better than last week, Anil. I know you were sick last week, right?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, much better. Last month, actually. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a bad.
It was the last call. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate it. Awesome. Yeah, so if there's no other feedback or things people want to bring up, then we can move on to talking about the project list. So moving on to here, I'm sure there's a bunch of updates we got to make to this table, and we'll do them right after this call once we talk through them. So GPU support obviously is out there now, and so this is technically done. It's beyond beta, it's publicly released. So we're going to mark this as released at this point, unless there's any objections from anyone. Awesome, take that as a no. I think the same applies to stable payments and settlement as well. There's probably going to be work that's needed on the client side that the CloudMost team and some of us have been talking about, but from the perspective of actually supporting it in the core product, I think we're pretty good in terms of that at this point. Unless Arthur, you think there's reasons for why we should keep this open here. There we go. Go ahead, Arthur.
Yeah, thanks, Anil. There is actually one thing upcoming related to stable payments, so let's probably keep it at the implementation phase, and then we can discuss it on the economics.
Sounds good. Yep. Cool. And then economics 2.0, I think it's kind of the similar thing as stable payments. It's kind of the thing you're talking about, I think, is kind of related a little bit to both of them. So we can keep them both in implementation, if that's okay with you, Arthur.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Moving on. I don't know if there's people that can give updates on the next 3 items. I know Adam Wozni is not on the call. I don't know, Tyler, if you have any updates on the certification program, event planning, and the hackathon.
I believe the certification program is currently on hold right now. Again, I think that folks that contribute to the SIG community have brought up a number of ideas. So if anybody here on the call has any ideas around the EDU program, please feel free to join that special interest group for community. On the event planning side, I know that, again, Cosmoverse is coming up, so a number of folks on this call in the community will be attending that in person. I believe that there's there's a proposal up on chain right now for Q4. But again, the events are pretty well planned for 2023. So I think this is good to go right now in terms of being done. The Akash Hackathon has 1 day left. So again, there will be some further messages going out, but the Akash Hackathon that was supposed to end last week was extended for a couple of folks or for everybody, as a couple of folks just wanted to finish up some projects that they were working on. With that in mind, again, there's 1 day left. There's a link that I'll put in the chat for Dora Hacks, where you can get instructions on how to submit. But again, the submissions will be closing tomorrow, and then we'll be moving into, again, the judging, grading phase and distribution of rewards. So I'm going to throw that in the chat for everybody.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate the update. So I guess we can probably put certification on hold at this point. And then event planning, I think it's pretty much done. I don't think there's any more events we're going to plan outside of the ones that are already indicated here. And then Akash Hackathon, I guess, is ongoing. So we'll leave that in implementation. The next one's doc site migration. And I know the website team had a few updates that they wanted to share today, maybe potentially talking about timelines, and maybe, I don't know if there's a demo or something, but I don't know, Dennis, Tyler, was it Dennis that was going to give the updates on that?
I'll give an update because I think that Dennis might be in a situation where he's muted right now. On the doc site migration, the process that the Luna and the Quay Search team did to, again, migrate from Gitbook to Hugo, that process is complete, so we can mark this as done. Piyush and the website team are going to take the work that Luna has done, and again, it's going to be a part of their website revamp. Right now, in terms of the website revamp, the Piyush and his team are 11 days in after the proposal passed on chain for the community funds for website revamp, and they've been focusing on the homepage and the blog page. I will put a link. Actually, I can share my screen real fast, and then I'll also put a link to it in the chat. There's a version that they've been sharing most recently in the working group for the Akash website, which meets every Thursday, where, again, they've just been focusing on functionality, with one of the main focuses being on everything being in Tailwind CSS. And then, again, just making sure that Greg did a great job of setting standards for what the website should look and feel like, because it's an open source website and there's certain standards we should abide by. So by those standards, again, Piyush and his team have tried to make the blog as fast as possible. So if you can go to the blog page right now, again, and click around, the loading speed is very quick. And that's something that is certainly important for all as we continue to, again, optimize the website. So I know that they've been focusing on back-end functionality right now, And again, we'll continue to update folks in the community. Anybody that wants to join that working group for the Akash website is more than welcome to join and keep up to date on all things happening with the website.
Excellent. Thanks for the update, Tyler. The next one here is on-chain analytics, which is basically the work that is happening under SIG Analytics. I think the main updates over here are basically as we, so first and foremost, I guess it's worth mentioning that, we had a PRD that was out there in the discussions, and then it's now in the community repos that documents exactly the kinds of things that we would like to see from analytics. And we've looked at a few different solutions and ultimately decided that CloudMose's indexer and their solution is the one that we want to kind of standardize on. There is a couple of folks that are building, indexers for not just Akash but other Cosmos projects as well. And one of them has agreed to continue working on an Akash analytics solution in exchange for delegations, and so that is something that's in progress as well. But we are primarily using CloudMose as the analytics solution on our side. So with that said, I guess one update that I'll share is what we realized over the context of rolling out GPU support, as well as talking to customers and watching people deploy workloads onto GPUs, is we realized that one of the challenges we have is it's not there is no easy way to tell how many of a given type of GPU we have at a given point of time. So we can see obviously the total number of GPUs that are on the network, how many are being used and how many are available. But there's no clear way of knowing, for example, if the question I had was how many A100s are available today for a customer that wants a cluster of 8 A100s, it's really hard to get that information, let alone knowing whether it's all available in one provider or in multiple providers. So we've chatted with the CloudMose team and with the core team as well on these topics. And the ultimate ideal solution requires changes on the code base to be able to provide that information through a provider status endpoint. But in the interim, what the CloudMose team has done, and this is kudos to the Maxes, who I don't think are on the call because Max P is en route to Istanbul, is basically they've added labels to indicate what types of GPUs are on a given provider. So you can see this new column that was added here. As you scroll through, you'll see if there's multiple GPU types, those are indicated here. It's not the ideal solution that we want, but it's something to start with. In addition to this, what the console team is working on right now, it's not really analytics, but what the console team is working on is showing you the types of GPUs that are available to you when you go to deploy something. And I believe the CloudMose team is also going to implement the same solution. So that's a little bit of work that's going on there, but we are going to prioritize the work necessary on the core side to support being able to return the GPU model types in the status endpoint from the providers, so that we can produce a better analytics solution to look at the total quantity of a given GPU model. So that's one of the big updates on the analytics side. Outside of that, the CloudMose team has been steadily producing new updates to the indexer as well, including supporting the analytics that you just saw for GPUs, as well as the Plato team. So the Plato dashboard supports analytics as well to a certain extent. So great work by both the CloudMose team as well as the Plato team in terms of supporting these charts in the dashboards, in the respective dashboards. It's been extremely useful to have those as we have tried to build momentum for Akash GPUs on social media and other places. Any other questions on SIG Analytics or analytics in general? Okay. Moving on to the next thing on the agenda here is provider attributes. So I'm sure most people have seen the updates from the CloudMose team. There is now UI within the CloudMose app that lets you, as a provider, if you're connected, with your provider wallet, it lets you edit the attributes that you have specified and be able to change the key as well as the value of them. And I think this has been a huge addition, value add to the service that they provide. because now not only can providers make these changes easily, it also lets us determine like what are the attributes that we're missing, because now we get feedback, and then we can also see if certain keys and strings are working or they're not working. There's still a lot more work to be done in terms of not just supporting some of the attributes that we want to support, but also actually defining what those are. This is an ongoing effort that will be continuing in the WG provider attributes channel, as well as any meetings over there. Moving on to the next thing here, I'll just keep going down the list to keep things moving. But if there's any questions or things that people want to bring up, please raise your hand or interrupt me. Authorized spend management here also, there's been significant effort from the CloudMost team supporting basically two things. One, a dashboard for being able to see all the wallets that you've authorized spend for, as well as supporting essentially a gasless experience where if you want to authorize funds for a wallet and the wallet doesn't have any AKT right now, being able to grant them funds in that situation. So that's work that is either out there or in progress. So there's good work happening on that side as well. If you're curious about what all this is, there's a spec that is linked from here. Definitely take a look at that. The next one's content moderation. The content moderation team met yesterday as part of the SIG providers call. So if you're on that, you probably are pretty caught up on this, but to provide a quick high-level summary, and then if anybody else wants to jump in, particularly from the Pretor team side, feel free to jump in. But essentially, some really good updates from Andrew Mello, who has built basically a I believe it's like a Python script or some kind of a script that is able to scan a given provider and report on specific types of content and potentially block that content or kill the deployment if there is a certain type of content on it. I believe he's going to be submitting that as part of his hackathon submission. And then the Pretor team is back, after supporting GPUs and all of that, is back and prioritizing the work for supporting both the API for moderation as well as for reporting on content. So that's kind of the updates on that side. Significant amount of progress and continued work. I don't know, Deval or Jigar, if you have any other updates to share.
Yeah, I think pretty much you summarized everything. Thanks.
Sounds good. Client libraries. I was hoping Luna or somebody from the Quasar team would be on the call today, because that's where I don't have a lot of updates. Doesn't look like they are. But I don't know if anybody else knows what they've been up to. Initially, they were focused on the Go client, and then the Java client, I want to say, and then they switched gears to the Go client. So I'm not quite sure where they are in terms of their work or their current plans. But on the JavaScript side, Akash.js has been getting steady updates, either from the CloudMost team or the console team, continuing to add features that are common to both the clients into the common code bases under Akash.js. And if you're curious about what those common areas are, there's a document here that outlines what each client is using and what where we look to refactor or factor out the common functionality into Akash.js. And if it's something that you want to help out on, definitely hit me up or post a PR in Akash.js. Does anybody have any updates for what the Luna and Quasar team might be working on in terms of client libraries at this point? Take that as a no. I'm going to hit up, or maybe Tyler, you can hit up the Luna team and ask them if they're still working on this, because I know at some point there was a spec. I think it's probably still an open spec in as a pull request. So if there's no active work happening, we should just close out that spec, because I believe, or maybe it was already closed out. I don't quite
Yeah,
sure.
I think we already closed it out. I know that Luna and the Quasar team are working on a much larger project, but I will get an update on the Go client libraries and make sure that that continues to move forward, or an update is shared someplace.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then I think the remaining things are kind of either in spec. Actually, this provider service refactor, there's a portion of it that is implemented, but it's kind of been on pause since then. So I'll change that to, on hold at this point. And I think the remaining things on this list are pretty much in a similar state. So I don't think we need to spend the time going through each and every one of these. Is there some other project that we're not talking about that needs to be on this list that anyone can think of at this point?
I would suggest having the newer aspects. We're tracking the private containers, the features that I saw we talk about in our meetings. It'd be nice to actually have them propose as new projects. A key requirement we are seeing is private containers, right? And also just general aspects of like exposing the GPU or having node visibility, that spec that we design. And also ideally I want to get this publicly funded, right? Because I think from now on, it has to be very obvious. We have quite a lot of work, and we should sort of like spec out all this work and have a public funding for it. So it'll be good to create a project for that and link the public funding to the project. My thoughts.
Yep. Yeah, makes sense. We do have an item for private image repository and supporting private containers in here. But to your point, we need to create a spec for it, assign it to a specific SIG and stuff like that. So we'll work on that. And actually, that's a perfect segue into something else I wanted to talk about, which is one of the things I was discussing with the core team was the idea of a potential project board. Let me see if I can actually find this. It's supposed to be out here. Strange. Okay, so I was trying to create what is essentially the idea of a cohesive roadmap. It's the one thing I've realized with the table that we look at is it's one-dimensional. It just tells you like what are the projects that are there, and it's kind of hard to understand at a quick glance, which state they're in. So potential idea is to have a board similar to the one that you're seeing up here. This is just a draft at this point. But the essential idea is like have every time there's something that comes up in one of these calls, it goes into the backlog here. And then as people are working on it, it moves through, ready for development when it has a spec that has been reviewed and, has been approved by the devs that are going to be working on it. And then in progress, in test, if there is a beta or some kind of a testnet or staging environment, and then ultimately released. So this is something that I was just starting to work on and discuss with our core team. Our core team seems very supportive of this. And obviously the first item on that is secret management, which is basically supporting secrets so that we can do private containers and other things as well. So that's definitely high on the priority list, but kind of wanted to share this idea and see if there's any thoughts on this as well.
I love this idea. In fact, the first roadmap we had for Akash was a GitHub project, and that was much easier to track, much easier to update.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, the challenge always is like trying to keep it low enough overhead while at the same time providing visibility. So yeah, I think overwhelmingly people have been supportive of this idea. The one thing I'm unsure of is, ideally what we would do is we would create high-level epics or, basically milestones in this view here. And then we would tie individual tasks. So let's say, secret management requires work on the core side, some work on the clients, and then some work in the documentation side. Each of those would be individual tasks under that one single milestone. I don't know if this actually is able to pull things across projects, something that was on my list of things to check out. So I'll make sure I do that. And if it does, then it's great. If not, we'll have to find some higher level way of doing this. But yeah, awesome. If anybody has any other thoughts on this and hasn't thought of them yet, feel free to hit me up at any point. to discuss. Going back to this, any other things that people want to bring up in terms of projects that aren't mentioned here? Awesome. Flutter excited, then we're good. Cool. So going back to this now, the third thing we do on these meetings is look at the discussion board and see sort of what's been going on there. I think last time we talked about the things all the way up to this point. We'll rehash a couple of these and then talk about the new ones as well. So I believe this one's passed at this point. Yeah, the bringing MetaMask Akash by the Cosmos Snap. Last time, John gave a very detailed update on his side of what he's doing, and answered a bunch of questions. And then since then, this proposal has been passed. So awesome. This work should be underway. Any other thoughts or concerns or questions about this thing? Okay, take that as a no as well. The next one's this AI foundation model training thing that I've been very closely involved with. To provide an update on this, there's been a decent amount of discussion in the comments under this from a few folks, and I believe most of the questions, if not all, have been answered. So there's no like people that are opposed to this idea, as far as I know. I was at the point where I wanted to update this proposal with some other comments that have come in, just to reflect the feedback that we have gotten. But separately, and this is something that has been going on, among a handful of people, we have been running tests. So Shimpa and as well as the Thumper team, Logan, have been involved in this along with myself and a couple of other folks. We've been running tests on finding a provider that we can use for this. And basically, the Thumper AI team has been trying to test a smaller version of what they'll be doing in terms of their training, a much smaller batch size. So they've been doing this for the last 3 weeks or so. And that test concluded yesterday. So hopefully this week we'll know if we have a good provider that we can utilize for this exercise. And then once I get a confirmation from the Thumper AI team, I'll be updating this governance proposal and pushing it, pushing it to the governance proposal formally as well. And then I think we're pretty close. We're pretty much more or less in line with the timeline that I've outlined here. So hopefully, we'll be able to stick to this going forward as well. Any feedback, questions? Awesome. The next one on this is fee abstraction, which I clearly have not looked at yet. I don't know if there's somebody that can speak about this or has read through and can talk about it on the call today. Obviously, the person that wrote it isn't, I don't think is on the call. I mean, it sounds like a thing that would be valuable at a high level, but I still have to read through the details.
Yeah, I know Artur read through this a little bit. Go ahead, Artur.
Yeah, that's obviously we want that thing to have, but it requires a little bit of work. First of all, how it's going to be integrated in Akash, and you just need to get all of the insights how the fee abstraction is actually implemented. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and as soon as we have like full spec laid out as well as confidence, we're going to start publishing spec for that, and we're going to put that on project board.
Sounds good. Thank you, Artur.
I mean, if I understand correctly, this is abstracting, essentially using any IBC-enabled token to pay fees in, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
The intention is really good. Like, well, the details are like, how does that fee get distributed back to validators? Obviously, there's a market buy. Those details, I think, needs to be sorted out, right? Like, at a high level, I really like the idea. But this is parallel to the fee grant, which is different, right? You're just granting the fees, and that's working, right? That's almost ready to be implemented.
Yeah, fee grant is working. Actually, we put that on chain on the mainnet 6.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's completely different. Another big issue with that item is, keep in mind that all of the IBC tokens right now, they are non-fungible. So that creates some difficulties. The token that has came, let's say, from Osmosis to Akash, it should come back to Osmosis. We're gonna first think about packet forwarding that allows us to do native tokens on the chain, and then we're gonna go back to that.
Okay.
So thank you, guys. Go back to this. Stable payments with Pi USD. Yeah, this doesn't have a whole lot of information, so I don't know if you want to spend a lot of time on this. Yeah, let's pass on this one for now. And then this, I think, is just a continuing conversation around the events. So I think we got an events update already from Tyler. So I think we're good on this one. Unless Huey, I don't know if Huey is on the call and you want to add anything specifically on this. Doesn't look like he is.
The only thing I'll add is this, again, this is up for vote right now on chain. Again, there's been some discussion. I know that Huey and Adam and others have just been trying to be as transparent with all the things that have been spent dollars and cents wise on the budget. So if anybody has any questions, further questions, again, this is up for proposal for Q4. You could just take a look at this discussion, but I think folks have had plenty of time to look at this.
Sounds good. Awesome. Jumping back to this. Yeah, and I think that's kind of all the things we have for today. I guess we'll just open it up for any other questions or concerns or feedback from anyone on the call. Go ahead, Tyler.
I guess real quick, again, I gave a quick update on what's happening with the website revamp. If anybody wants to join those conversations and participate, feel free to join the meetings on Thursdays. Additionally, there is a team, Node Ops, that has been very active in the ecosystem, working on a number of items. They were supposed to do a demo today, but again, they are halfway around the world, so it might be 2 or 3 a.m. their time, so completely understood. I do want to put a link to what they're working on in the chat so that at least people can interact with it. Hopefully they'll be able to give a demo at the next steering committee, or we'll find a place for them to give a demo very soon. But again, they've built a tool that basically is a chat tool that makes it easier for folks to get started and leverage the documentation that Scott and others have been working on for so long. So again, it digested documentation, a number of items from GitHub, and is a chat-based tool that allows people to pull code, understand how to do things like become a validator, become a provider, specific things related to using the Akash network. But again, just wanted to put a preliminary message out there to folks on this call that they will be giving a demo and have been working on this for some time amongst other projects. And again, just look out for that if you see it in Discord. I know that Scott and some other folks have been testing it already, but again, if anybody has any feedback or any thoughts on the tool, please feel free to message myself and we can get you in the appropriate channels.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think that's about all we have for today. Bye. Go ahead, Andrew.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, hey guys, just a few questions real quick. The first one is for Chang, I suppose. So I have the new market maker reach out to me. I don't know if we have one or if we are looking for the one, or do we accept applications for the market makers, because there has been a bunch of them. Still one, it's like kind of saying that he can outperform our market maker and give us like some organic liquidity. So I don't know if I should like forward them to the Discord or to the team, or like how are we supposed to interact with them actually?
Good question. Just pass them on to myself via email, and we can sort it out from there.
Yeah, sure. Just DM me then the email in Discord, because I don't think I have it.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks. Second one, guys from Ethereum India, the folio reach out and they want to onboard Akash for one of their programs. Also, I don't know if we are interested in that, and so I like set them to just write the messages in our Discord for the team to reach out. But probably if there is somebody specifically who would like to talk with them about their onboard program, who would that be, and where should I forward them? Like if we are interested at all in this stuff.
Sorry, could you expand on that a little bit, Andrew? I'm not quite understanding.
So I'm assuming this is like some development team from Ethereum India. And,
I see. I think that would be best
they,
with Greg and Anil. Greg, I don't know if I don't want to throw you into the crossfire here, but do you have any comments on that?
I'm sorry, some team from Ethereum India is wanting to do
a development team.
Yeah, some development team from Ethereum India, and they want to onboard Akash for one of their programs. And they just asked if we are interested in that.
Of course we're interested, but what's the ask?
So he wasn't specific. I just tell him to write in Discord, but if he will give me some details, because probably it was late night when I replied to him. So yeah, if I'll get more details, I will just probably forward them to Anil or to you, Greg, if it's okay.
Yeah, that works. I mean, Anil or like any of us, but generally, if anybody wants to use Akash, don't turn them away.
Yeah. Just gonna say. Yeah, all sorts of demand is great. Thank you for bringing up that, Andrew. All sorts of demand is great, but definitely very, very interested in understanding the detailed use case. Sorry, I was like slacking on the side and wasn't paying attention, but yeah, anywhere is fine. Like DM on Discord, just tag me on any channel. Anywhere is fine. Totally. We'll set up a meeting.
Yep.
We can, like, you and I and this team can get together, talk about the use case, see how we can help out.
Yep, sure. Okay, we'll do. Also, guys from on-ramp money, I suppose this is like some fiat to crypto bridge. They reach out to me on like Telegram and asking if we need this like fiat to crypto bridge for Europe. I assume they are not working for the USA, but probably Europe and probably like Asia. I don't know. Like, are we still exploring the bridges, like fiat to crypto bridges or something like that?
Yeah, so I'll say that we've gotten a fair amount of interest. Like pretty much, I think multiple of us on the core team get hit up by people building fiat on-ramp solutions, and there's like a dozen of them. So my general inclination is to say, I don't want to say we don't want it, but just not a super high priority at this point. But definitely curious to know who it is and have a contact if needed.
To give you an update on fiat on-ramp, I think we are looking at supporting credit cards without on-ramp, in the sense like, Akash ML, it's, we announced Akash ML very soon, recently, and we'll probably have like a working product very soon. And the goal is to not interact with crypto at all. I don't think on-ramping customers to fiat is a problem as much as interacting with crypto is a problem for machine learning developers. So, in all honesty, we're not interested in like subpar experience where you first load up on crypto and using a credit card, and then you deal with the other nasty stuff that you had to deal with. Right? So
Got it.
Yeah, I would just throw one bit of input in there. It depends, I think, really what the point of contact is for a user coming in, as far as like the on-ramp experience, right? So if there is a specific proposal, Andrew, that anyone has out there for whatever functionality they think would be additive to Akash Network in general, I would highly suggest they write that up and throw it into GitHub discussions for more broader engagement with the community, and so we can take a look at it, because saying, you know, hey, we have this particular offering and this particular whatever it is, that the details are a little bit lacking. So I think having it in GitHub discussions would feed into this particular call much better, and allow us to assess with far greater clarity and certainty as far as, you know, what they're actually going to be doing, and then, you know, the public funding can judge by, you know, yay or nay, essentially.
Got it. Okay, thanks. So basically just trying to move the pitches to GitHub discussions and see what they will show us.
Exactly,
yeah, okay.
like similar to what like Payush and his team had done for the website, right? They had a bunch of we had rather a bunch of open issues and things like that. They consolidated it into one cohesive proposal to build those solutions. So I think something like that would be very helpful, right? To say, hey, look, we think this is a problem. Here's a problem statement. Here's how we think we can help. Here's what we think it'll take, cost, etc., and engage the community that way. And obviously, we are part of the community too, and we'll be right there.
Got it. Okay. I think that's all from my side. So thank you for the answers.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Anil, for leading us again. Is there any other conversations or questions that anybody has before I let y'all go? Cool. Again, just a reminder, 1 day left for the, okay, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, one more before I didn't forget. So the Damex team wrote a proposal for Akash. They posted in our Telegram chat. I assume they're planning to post it in our discussions on GitHub. So it's incentivized AKT landing pool on Neutron. They just wanted like to have brief answers or brief like opinions from the community before they're gonna post it in our GitHub discussions. I just wanted to know if we are looking for these guys of spool spendings like landing pools and some like additional utilities for AKT right now on landings and on landing protocols, etc.
Yeah, I would say throw those into the discussions too. As far as like focus and concentration, it's not something super top of mind for us per se, because, you know, like I think for the core team as well as the community, we're focusing on getting wider and wider adoption and growing, right, the adoption for Akash Network. But for the other stuff like around, you know, lending protocols, other token liquidity uses, and we had a call earlier, I think last week or a week prior rather, with another I think DeFi startup thinking about perps and all that stuff. I mean, these are all discussions that can be had publicly too, if it doesn't, you know, quite reach us privately.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Go ahead, Adil.
Yeah, and I'll just echo a little bit of what Cheng said and add something more for context. Andrew, is basically at the highest level, our goal right now is driving demand, but then specifically also driving demand for GPU workloads. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, pretty clear that we've had very little trouble getting supply of GPUs. There's been an exponential growth in the number of GPUs. We've had a fair amount of demand as well, but there's always more that we can do to drive more demand. And so in general, if any of these proposals directly impact or directly positively impact demand, then those are obviously priority number one. And then second is like if there's proposals that would potentially get us supply, whether it's, you know, creating incentives or generally incentivizing or getting more people to host their GPUs on or compute on Akash, that would kind of be second. But yeah, thank you for sharing all those. Appreciate it.
Got it. Oh, by the way, in terms of GPUs, I'm sorry, I missed like the first part of the convo. Do you have like estimate time for when we are planning to put like H100s to the marketplace?
So we already did actually. So when we launched, there was at least one cluster of H100s. We had them running for a couple of weeks. There's like 4 H100s hosted by the Praetor team. I was coordinating with them closely. Thanks, Jigar, for helping out with that. But yeah, we had the H100s. What we realized was there aren't a lot of people that can actually utilize H100s as much right now. The demand's a lot more higher for A100s, A6000s. But as we see more demand, we can definitely spin back up the H100s. Did you have any specific workloads or customers that were requesting them?
No, it was just generally speaking, because it was like talks on Telegram, so just wanted to know the answers.
Got it. Yeah. So we did definitely have a provider running H100s for at least a couple of weeks.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew, again, as previously mentioned, I know you do a great job in Telegram of keeping up to date on all things Akash related. If you can continue to push people, as Chang mentioned, to GitHub discussions. If things are in preliminary state and you want to get feedback from folks on this call or just folks in the community, feel free to also throw them in respective special interest group channels. Even if you have to do it on folks' behalf, it would be great to, again, start a dialogue so we know kind of what's happening on all the things in Telegram, and folks on the steering committee can have a little bit of time to read and react versus just on the spot. Go ahead, Chang.
Yeah, just want to also say, Andrew, for this and for the record, for everyone to know, it's asking folks to post these things to GitHub discussions accomplishes a couple of things. It's not simply a hot potato, right, and push the discussion or problem into GitHub discussions, but is really to engage the community. And I think it speeds things up, quite frankly, and skips a step, because a lot of these elements require public funding and or public discussion anyway. So I think going straight there and engaging, the community in addition to Overclock Labs core team at the same time will definitely help speed things up and get to the end result faster. And it also does two other things. One is accountability for, the core team and whomever else it mentions, right, as far as getting responses for. And it puts it into the kind of public record for discussion in SIGs, working groups, as well as the steering committee meeting. And the last thing I would say is I think it forces the proposer of the discussion points to write something or think the things through a little bit more thoroughly, right? Because it is going into a public forum, and I think that benefits everyone.
Yep, got it. Thanks for the answers.
Yeah. I would also just add very quick that it's also a great filtering mechanism. I know, as Anil mentioned, there's a number of folks that are reaching out to get a piece of what's going on in the Akash network. And so, again, pushing them to the discussions and other channels allows us to filter out who's very serious and wants to continue building with the Akash network. But again, much appreciate all the work that you're doing, Andrew. If there's no other conversations, then again, I much appreciate everybody's time today for the steering committee monthly meeting number 9. Notes, transcript, and recording will be available soon for folks. And again, look out for continued notifications and updates on Discord. I know that there was, a node upgrade that happened yesterday, followed by providers having to make some small updates. So please stay engaged in Discord with all that's going on. So look out for many more announcements in the future. Much appreciate everyone again, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day and week.